It started as a normal evening in my small hometown of Whitby, England, where I've spent the last 40 years chasing the universe's secrets. I'm Dr. James Carter, astrophysicist, and I thought I'd seen everything the cosmos could throw at us. But tonight, as I sat in my cluttered study, surrounded by stacks of ancient star charts and blinking monitors, the impossible happened. We were tracking an object, something the international community had nicknamed Trinity Atlas, a mysterious visitor from beyond our solar system. It was supposed to be just another comet or asteroid, but it wasn't. No, Trinity Atlas shattered every rule of physics we knew. At exactly 9:17 p.m. GMT, my phone buzzed with alerts from telescopes spread from Chile to Hawaii and the European Space Observatory. The object had split in two, perfectly, cleanly, like someone had taken a cosmic scalpel to it. No explosion, no debris, just two flawless halves drifting apart. I rubbed my eyes, thinking I'd accidentally read a sci-fi novel instead of live data. Then came the real shock. One half vanished. Poof. Gone. Not hiding behind a planet or lost in a shadow. Completely erased from existence. If losing the half of a mountain-sized object overnight wasn't enough to freeze your blood, the other half started sending signals, intelligent ones, directly aimed at Earth. I remember the room lighting up as my colleague, Sophie Bennett, entered, dressed in her usual sharp blazer over a figure-hugging black dress, her emerald necklace catching the light like a beacon. "James, you seeing this?" she asked, her voice steady but eyes wide. "It's like the universe just winked at us, or warned us." The signals weren't random static. They pulsed with a rhythm precise to the nanosecond, like a heartbeat from a machine far beyond anything we've built. The pattern echoed the prime numbers sequence, something we humans once sent out on the Voyager Golden Record. Now it was coming back at us. The strangest part, 48 hours before the split, Trinity Atlas was as stable as a church clock. Smooth orbit, no odd quirks. Then, out of nowhere, it accelerated. Faster the further it got from the sun. A comet speeding up away from its heat source. That's like me running a marathon and sprinting faster the further I get from the finish line. It just doesn't happen. Scientists scrambled to explain it. Solar winds, gravitational pulls, magnetic fields. But nothing fit. The data screamed one thing. This wasn't natural. It was deliberate, controlled, designed. As we debated theories, I caught myself wondering, what if this wasn't just an object? What if it was alive? Or worse, what if someone was watching us right now from the shadows of space? And then the signals stopped. Silence. Cold, absolute silence. I looked up from the screen, heart pounding. The room felt suddenly too small, too fragile. The stars outside twinkled indifferently, unaware of the cosmic drama unfolding in their backyard. But this was just the beginning, because while one half disappeared, the other was only waking up. And what happened next? Well, it would change everything we thought we knew about the universe. The night air outside whispered secrets, but I wasn't sure if it was the wind or something far older and far more dangerous. The morning after the split, I found myself back at the Whitby Observatory, the place where I'd spent more nights than I care to admit, staring into the abyss and hoping for answers. The observatory was a quaint stone building perched on the cliff's edge, its aged telescope pointing skyward like an ancient sentinel. Inside, the air smelled faintly of dust and burnt coffee, a comforting mix for an insomniac scientist like me. Sophie was already there, pacing with a restless energy that matched the storm brewing outside. She wore a dark green trench coat over a silk blouse, her wavy auburn hair pulled back loosely, strands escaping to frame her determined face. Her boots clicked sharply on the wooden floor as she stopped in front of me. "James," she said, voice low. "The signals started again last night. This time they're different, more complex." I frowned, rubbing my stubbled chin. Different how? She pulled up a holographic projection from the observatory's main console, a swirling dance of pulses and waves, intricate and precise. It's like a language, mathematical but layered, almost musical. I couldn't help but smirk. Great, now the universe is sending us Morse code in jazz hands. She rolled her eyes but smiled. If this is an alien jam session, I want front row seats. We spent hours decoding the signals, our minds racing to catch up with whatever intelligence was behind them. Outside, the rain hammered against the windows, a relentless rhythm matching the pulses from Trinity Atlas. The object's remaining half had settled into a slow spin, almost ritualistic, like a cosmic metronome. Then came the first image, a distorted, shimmering projection that flickered on the screen. It wasn't just electromagnetic waves. It was a message, encoded in light, a pattern resembling a map, but not of any place I'd ever seen. Sophie leaned closer, tracing the lines with a slender finger, adorned with a silver ring shaped like a serpent. "This looks like a star chart, but with coordinates that don't match our galaxy." I swallowed hard. So, whoever sent Trinity Atlas isn't from around here. The thought sent a chill down my spine. I glanced around the dim room, half expecting shadows to shift or strange voices to whisper, but the only sounds were our breathing and the soft hum of machines. Sophie broke the silence. "You know, James, when I was a kid, I used to think the stars were just pinpricks of light, distant and safe. Now it feels like they're watching us back." I nodded. And maybe, for the first time, we're seeing the eyes staring through the dark. Just then, the monitors flickered violently. Red warning lights blinked on. A burst of static filled the room, followed by a chilling, distorted voice that seemed to echo from nowhere and everywhere. "Prepare, prepare, prepare." The message repeated 3 times before cutting to silence. We exchanged a glance that said everything words couldn't. Whatever had arrived was not just observing, it was preparing. And so were we. Outside, the storm raged on, as if the heavens themselves were warning us of what was to come. By midday, the storm had passed, leaving Whitby washed clean and eerily quiet, as if the world itself was holding its breath. The observatory's ancient clock chimed in the empty room while Sophie and I sat hunched over our equipment, the weight of that strange message settling over us like a heavy fog. Sophie, now in a crisp white blouse that contrasted sharply with her dark trousers, tapped her fingers nervously on the console. "Prepare, prepare. What are we supposed to prepare for, James? An alien tea party? A polite invasion?" I chuckled softly, but inside my heart hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird. Given the timing and precision, I doubt it's a social call, more like a warning or an ultimatum. The signal's voice had been warped, mechanical yet hauntingly human-like, as if someone was speaking through a broken radio from across the cosmos. And the fact it repeated the word 3 times, like a countdown or a command, felt less like coincidence and more like a declaration. Outside, the sun began to pierce the clouds, casting long shadows across the observatory's stone floors. The light illuminated Sophie's copper hair, making it glow like fire. She glanced at me, her emerald necklace catching the sunbeam, shimmering with an almost hypnotic pulse. I couldn't help but notice how the necklace's rhythm seemed to mimic the signal's pattern, an eerie, subtle echo. "Maybe your necklace is a cosmic translator," I joked, "or a secret beacon inviting them in." She smirked but didn't reply. Instead, she pulled up data from the James Webb Space Telescope feed. The image of Trinity Atlas's remaining half appeared on the screen, a sleek metallic cylinder spinning slowly against the black backdrop, its surface eerily smooth, reflecting starlight like liquid mercury. "I've never seen anything so perfect," I murmured. "No craters, no dust, no imperfections, like it was polished by some cosmic craftsman." Sophie's eyes narrowed. "Or like it's alive." Suddenly the console beeped urgently. A new signal had arrived, this time a sequence of coded pulses layered beneath the initial message. Our computers began translating the pattern into something resembling a complex blueprint. "Look at this," Sophie said, pointing to the screen. "It's a schematic of a device, or a structure. Something enormous." The design spun slowly, revealing an intricate lattice of interconnected nodes and glowing pathways. It looked nothing like any human technology, too advanced, too alien. I leaned forward, tracing the glowing lines with a trembling finger. If this is what Trinity Atlas really is, then it's not just an object drifting through space. It's a machine, a message, a warning. Suddenly, the lights flickered, and the temperature in the room dropped. I wrapped my arms around myself, feeling an unnatural chill creeping into my bones. "Did you feel that?" I asked. Sophie nodded, voice barely a whisper. "It's like the whole building just held its breath." And then, without warning, the observatory's ancient telescope swiveled on its own, pointing directly at the spot where the other half, Object B, had vanished. The room fell into darkness as the power cut out, plunging us into silence. In that moment, I realized this was no longer just a story about a mysterious comet. This was a cosmic game of cat and mouse, and we were the prey. Something was waking up out there, and whatever it wasn't done with us yet. When the lights blinked back on, the observatory felt different, charged, as if it had absorbed some invisible current while we were in the dark. Sophie and I exchanged a glance, the kind that says, "We're in deeper than we thought." Outside, the late afternoon sun cast long shadows over the rugged coastline of Whitby, the sea restless beneath a steel-gray sky. I adjusted my glasses, the frames slightly askew from the power cut, and looked back at the screen. The schematic we'd uncovered was still spinning, but now it seemed to pulse faintly, as if alive. Sophie, her auburn curls tousled from the brief blackout, leaned forward, eyes locked on the glowing lines. "James," she whispered, "this isn't just a blueprint. It's a map, but layered with something else. See those symbols?" She pointed to a series of cryptic glyphs bordering the design. Sleek, angular shapes that reminded me vaguely of ancient runes, but with an otherworldly precision. I smirked despite the tension. "Looks like someone's been binge-watching hieroglyph tutorials." She rolled her eyes but smiled. "I bet they'd make a killer tattoo." Our banter was a thin shield against the growing unease. The idea that this object was some kind of interstellar machine was one thing. The possibility that it carried messages coded in symbols older than human civilization was another entirely. Suddenly, an alert beeped, a live feed from the European Space Agency. The camera was trained on the empty spot in Jupiter's orbit, where Object B had vanished. At first glance, there was nothing but the inky blackness of space. But then, a faint shimmer appeared. almost like a heat haze, twisting and folding the stars behind it. "It's back," I breathed, heart pounding. Sophie's eyes widened. "But how? And why now?" The shimmer pulsed rhythmically, mirroring the signal patterns we'd been decoding. Then, without warning, the feed cut to static. "Lost connection," came the dry voice of the ESA operator over the comms. I stared at the screen, feeling the weight of silence pressing down. "It's like it's hiding from us." Sophie nodded, biting her lip. "Or maybe it's waiting." Outside, the wind picked up, rattling the observatory's ancient windows. I caught a glimpse of Sophie's silhouette, framed against the storm-darkening sky. Her blouse fluttering, the emerald necklace catching the fading light like a secret beacon. "Do you ever wonder," she asked quietly, "if we're just the opening act in a show too big to understand?" I leaned back, fingers interlaced behind my head. "If this is a show, I hope they at least have good lighting and snacks." She laughed softly, but the sound was swallowed by the gathering dusk. As night fell, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was shifting. Not just out there in the cold void, but here, on Earth. The signals, the disappearing half, the cryptic blueprint, all threads weaving a tapestry we were only beginning to glimpse. And somewhere, hidden in those patterns, was a message meant for us, a message that might change everything. But before we could unravel it, the observatory's monitors suddenly flashed red, an incoming transmission, unmarked, untraceable, and unmistakably alive. The screen flickered, and a single phrase appeared in stark white letters. "We see you." The words, "We see you," hung on the screen like a cold breath in the room, freezing time for a moment. Sophie's emerald necklace seemed to pulse in response, casting flickering shadows on the stone walls of the Whitby Observatory. I swallowed hard, feeling the weight of those 3 simple words like a challenge from the void. "Brilliant," I muttered, half joking but with a tremor in my voice. "Just what we needed. Cosmic stalkers." Sophie shot me a sharp look, but there was a flicker of a smile on her lips. "Well, James, I suppose it's better than 'we're coming to Earth to borrow a cup of sugar.'" We both laughed, but the humor was thin, a fragile shield against the unknown. The transmission continued, now a complex sequence of symbols and pulses that seemed to dance across the monitor, weaving together patterns that defied immediate understanding. As we scrambled to decode the message, Sophie's fingers flew across the keyboard, her manicured nails clicking rhythmically. She wore a tailored navy blazer over a silk blouse, the subtle scent of jasmine mingling with the faint hum of the machines. Her sharp eyes caught every detail, every nuance in the alien code. Hours passed like minutes as we worked, the observatory bathed in the blue glow of the screens. Finally, a breakthrough. The message was a warning, a cosmic beacon alerting us to a presence far older and far more powerful than Trinity Atlas. "Listen to this," Sophie said, voice low and tense. "It mentions something called the Watchers, entities existing beyond our dimension, observing civilizations like ours for millennia." I rubbed my temples. Great. So, we're the reality TV show for interdimensional voyeurs. She smiled weakly. "At least we're not the slowest rated episode." The message went on, cryptic references to a balance that must not be broken, a cosmic order maintained by forces beyond human comprehension. And then, chillingly, it hinted that Trinity Atlas was not just a visitor, but a sentinel, part of a system designed to monitor and, if necessary, intervene. "Meaning," I said, "this thing we've been tracking might be a cosmic watchdog." Or a cosmic bomb. Sophie's eyes darkened. Either way, it's not here for small talk. Just then, the monitors flickered again. A new signal emerged, this time a series of images. At first they were abstract, swirling colors and shapes, but then a figure took form. Tall, slender, with eyes that seemed to hold galaxies within them. A silhouette that felt both alien and eerily familiar, like a shadow from a half-remembered dream. The image pulsed in time with the signals, as if trying to communicate through presence rather than words. I leaned closer, heart pounding. Do you think it's trying to say hello? Sophie shook her head slowly. Or maybe it's saying, stay back. Outside, the night deepened, stars twinkling cold and distant. The universe suddenly felt less vast and more watchful. And as the figure's gaze seemed to pierce through the screen, I couldn't help but wonder, were we ready to face whatever was coming next? The image of that towering figure lingered on the screen long after the signal faded, like a ghost refusing to vanish. Sophie and I sat in stunned silence, the hum of the machines filling the heavy air around us. The room felt charged, as if reality itself had shifted an inch closer to something unfathomable. Sophie broke the silence first. You ever get the feeling we're tiny ants under a magnifying glass held by a kid who's bored? I laughed dryly. More like ants caught in the glare of a cosmic spotlight, and I doubt the kid's in a good mood. Outside, the wind carried a chill that seeped through the observatory's old stone walls, wrapping around us like a shroud. I glanced at Sophie, her emerald necklace now dimmed, as if drained by the weight of what we'd just seen. Then, the instruments beeped sharply, pulling us back to the present. The data feed from the remaining half of Trinity Atlas, Object A, was showing new activity. The smooth metallic cylinder was no longer spinning passively. It was rotating faster, almost hypnotically, its surface shimmering with iridescent patterns that looked like a language written in light. Looks like it's waking up, I said, voice barely above a whisper. Sophie nodded, eyes glued to the screen. And it's responding to something, or someone. I pulled up the latest telemetry data. The energy readings were off the charts, far beyond anything natural. The object was emitting bursts of electromagnetic waves, pulsing in sync with the mysterious figure's image we'd just seen. It's like a conversation, I said, heart pounding. But between who? Before Sophie could answer, the observatory's emergency alert system blared to life. A message flashed across every screen. An unidentified object was entering Earth's upper atmosphere at an unprecedented speed. We scrambled to the live feed. The object was glowing faintly, a streak of silver fire cutting across the twilight sky above the North Sea, heading straight toward the British coastline. Sophie's eyes widened. It's coming here! I grabbed my coat, adrenaline surging through me. We need to get to the coast, now! As we rushed out, the cool night air hit us like a shockwave. The town was unusually quiet, the usual chatter of late-night pubs and distant car horns replaced by an eerie stillness. Overhead, the stars seemed to flicker nervously, as if watching our every move. We made our way to the cliffs overlooking the sea, my heart thundering in my chest. The object blazed brighter, a silent comet with a purpose, descending rapidly. And then, just before it disappeared below the horizon, it split, once again, into two glowing fragments, each pulsing with that same rhythmic light. One fragment plunged into the dark waters, vanishing beneath the waves. The other hovered, suspended in the air, its light casting long shadows over the restless sea. Sophie whispered, "It's a message, or a warning." I nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. The universe wasn't just watching anymore. It was reaching out. And whatever that meant for us, well, the night was far from over. The night air was thick with salt and anticipation. As Sophie and I stood on the cliff's edge, eyes fixed on the faint glow hovering above the restless North Sea, the fragment's light pulsed steadily, casting a soft silver glow on the churning waves below. It was beautiful and utterly alien. Sophie adjusted her coat against the chill, her emerald necklace catching the fragment's eerie light, sending tiny green sparks dancing across her collarbone. "You know," she said with a dry smile, "if this is some kind of cosmic welcome party, I'm not sure I'm dressed for it. I should have worn heels instead of these boots." I grinned. Nothing says interstellar diplomacy like muddy hiking boots and a wind-blown trench coat. She laughed, but the humor masked the tension in her eyes. "So, what do we do now? Wait for it to say hello or prepare to be assimilated?" Before I could answer, my phone buzzed violently, a message from the European Space Agency. Sensors had detected a sudden spike in gravitational waves, originating precisely where the second fragment had disappeared beneath the waves. "Gravity anomalies near the coast," I muttered. "Could be linked to the submerged fragment." Sophie's gaze narrowed. "If that thing's underwater, it could be doing who knows what down there, like some cosmic submarine." We exchanged a glance heavy with unspoken questions. Then, without warning, the hovering fragment emitted a sharp pulse of light. The air vibrated, and the ground beneath our feet trembled subtly, as if the earth was responding. Suddenly, the fragment's surface rippled, revealing an almost liquid sheen that morphed into shifting patterns, symbols, shapes, and what looked like a swirling vortex of stars. "It's communicating," I breathed, but not with sound, with light and energy. Sophie raised her phone, capturing the spectacle. "This is the kind of thing that'll break the internet in seconds." The fragment's pulses grew more intense, and then, in a flash, a holographic projection burst forth, a towering figure more detailed than before. Its eyes, vast and shimmering, scanned the horizon. It spoke, not in words but directly into our minds. A voice both ancient and calm, like the echo of a million stars. "Guardians of this world, you stand on the brink. What you call Trinity Atlas is but the first step. The balance of the cosmos shifts. Prepare yourselves." I stumbled back, heart racing. "Did you hear that? Guardians. Balance. What balance?" Sophie's face was pale but resolute. "Whatever it is, it's bigger than us, and it's warning us." The projection flickered, then dissolved into a cascade of stars, leaving only the gentle pulse of the fragment's light. As the first light of dawn crept over the horizon, the sea stilled, the fragment's glow dimming into the morning mist. We were left standing there, two tiny figures on the edge of an unfathomable mystery. And somewhere beneath those waves, the other half waited, silent, hidden, and watching. The universe had sent its message. Now it was up to us to answer. The morning fog clung stubbornly to the Whitby shoreline as Sophie and I made our way back to the observatory, the weight of last night's encounter pressing heavily on our minds. The town was waking slowly, unaware that just hours ago, the cosmos had whispered a warning right above its restless sea. Inside the observatory, the atmosphere was thick with anticipation. Sophie, now in a soft gray sweater that hugged her slender frame and paired with dark jeans, pored over the data streaming in from satellites and deep-sea sensors. Her hair was pulled back loosely, strands falling around her face, softening the sharp determination in her eyes. I couldn't help but notice how, despite the tension, there was an almost hypnotic grace in the way she worked, focused, relentless, a force of nature. "The gravitational spikes are increasing," she said, fingers flying over the keyboard. "The underwater fragment isn't just sitting there. It's active, emitting energy pulses that align perfectly with the signals from Object A." I nodded, rubbing my chin thoughtfully. "So, this isn't just some cosmic debris. It's a system. Two halves working in tandem." She glanced up, her gaze locking with mine. "And whatever it's doing underwater could be affecting Earth itself. The recent compass failures, GPS glitches, they might not be coincidences." A chill ran down my spine. "You're saying it's already interacting with our planet?" "Exactly." Suddenly, the room was plunged into darkness as the power cut out again. A moment later, emergency lights flickered on, casting long shadows. The monitors glowed faintly, displaying a new incoming transmission, this one from deep space, but unlike anything we'd seen. The screen filled with a cascading pattern of light, fractals that twisted and folded into shapes both beautiful and terrifying. Then, words appeared, not in any language we recognized, but carved out of pure light. "The awakening begins." Sophie's voice was barely a whisper. "It's a countdown." I leaned closer, heart pounding. "To what?" Before she could answer, the entire observatory trembled as if struck by an unseen force. Books rattled off shelves, and the old telescope groaned under some invisible weight. Outside, the sky darkened unnaturally. A swirling vortex of stars seemed to spiral down from the heavens, a cosmic storm descending on our tiny corner of the world. Sophie grabbed my arm, eyes wide. "James, whatever this is, it's here, and it's starting." I looked up, the ancient stones of the observatory bathed in an otherworldly glow. The universe was no longer a distant mystery. It was a living, breathing force, awakening, and we were standing right in its path. As the vortex deepened, the last message echoed in my mind. "Prepare yourselves." But prepare for what? Because this was only the beginning. The vortex swirling above Whitby grew darker, its spiraling arms twisting like fingers, reaching down to clutch the earth. The sky crackled with electric tension, and a hush fell over the town as people looked upward, mesmerized and terrified. Sophie and I stood at the observatory's entrance, the wind tearing at our coats, her emerald necklace catching the eerie light like a pulse synchronized with the storm. "James!" she shouted over the roar. "This isn't just a cosmic event. It's a message, a call to action." I nodded grimly, the gravity of the situation pressing down on me harder than the storm's gale. A cosmic challenge, maybe. Or a test. Back inside, the monitors displayed the latest data from both fragments of Trinity Atlas. Object A continued its slow, deliberate rotation near Mars's orbit, now glowing with a deep, almost seductive amber light beneath its metallic surface. The patterns pulsing beneath it resembled neural networks, something alive, or at least mimicking life. Object B, the half-lost beneath the North Sea, was stirring too. The gravitational waves surged like a heartbeat, synchronized with the flickering beacon above us. Suddenly, the observatory's communications screen burst to life with an encrypted transmission, this time unmistakably human, but from an unknown source. The face that appeared was obscured, voice distorted, but the words were clear. "We've been watching. You are not alone. The awakening is inevitable. Trust no one." Sophie's eyes narrowed. "Who are they? And why the warning now?" Before I could answer, the lights flickered again, and the observatory's ancient telescope pivoted sharply, locking onto a new point in the sky, directly above Earth's equator. On the screen, a massive structure emerged, a colossal ring, shimmering with iridescent colors, suspended silently in geostationary orbit. It was unlike anything humanity had ever built or imagined. The ring pulsed rhythmically, casting ripples of energy toward both Trinity Atlas fragments. "We're witnessing the activation of something ancient," I said, voice barely steady. "A cosmic network, a bridge between worlds." Sophie's gaze was fierce, and we're caught right in the middle. Outside, the storm reached its crescendo. Lightning cracked across the sky, illuminating the ring's silhouette as it began to shift, aligning itself with the rotation axes of the two fragments. The earth trembled beneath our feet, compasses spun wildly, and the northern lights danced far beyond their usual realms. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the storm ceased. Silence returned, a heavy, unnatural silence. But the universe was watching, and the final message left on our screens chilled me to the core. The connection is complete. The awakening has begun. I looked at Sophie, heart pounding. Whatever happens next, it's beyond anything we've faced. She nodded, eyes shining with equal parts fear and determination. We have to be ready, because the cosmic game had just entered its deadliest phase, and Earth was the prize. The dawn broke over Whitby like a fragile promise, pale light spilling into the observatory's worn stone walls. Outside, the world seemed unchanged. Quiet streets, birdsong hesitating in the cool morning air. But inside, Sophie and I felt the weight of a universe transformed. The cosmic ring that had appeared the night before now hovered silently in geostationary orbit, its iridescent glow faint but unmistakable against the blue dawn. On the monitors, both halves of Trinity Atlas moved in perfect unison, their rotations synchronized like two dancers bound by some unseen force. Sophie, dressed in a soft cream blouse that contrasted with her fiery hair, stood by the window, her emerald necklace catching the morning sun and scattering tiny green lights across the room. She turned to me, voice steady but edged with urgency. "James, the pattern of their movement, it's converging on Earth's orbit, not just passing through, but preparing for something." I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. The connection is building. Whatever this is, it's coming for us. Suddenly, the communication console beeped, an incoming transmission, this time from the ring itself. The screen flickered, and the towering figure appeared again, more vivid than ever. Its eyes held the depths of galaxies, and its voice resonated inside my mind like a symphony. "Guardians of Earth," it intoned, "your world stands at the crossroads. The balance has shifted. The awakening is not an end, but a beginning." I felt the words ripple through me, a mixture of warning and hope. "Prepare yourselves," it continued, for what you call the awakening is the universe's reckoning. You are not alone, but not all who watch are friends." The screen went dark, leaving us in silence heavier than any storm. Sophie stepped closer, her hand brushing mine. "Whatever comes next, we face it together." I squeezed her hand, feeling the fragile thread of humanity tethering us amid the vast unknown. Outside, the Earth's magnetic field shimmered faintly, subtle compass fluctuations rippling across the planet. Migratory birds shifted course mid-flight, and somewhere, far beyond our sight, the other half of Trinity Atlas stirred beneath the sea. The cosmic dance had begun, and the question that haunted every mind was clear. When the two halves finally connected, what would awaken? As I looked out at the horizon, the sky painted with the soft colors of a new day, I knew this was only the beginning. Because in the silence after the storm, something ancient and powerful was stirring, and it was coming home.